Hi, my name is Larissa Alisley. Um, so I thought I'd make a more in-depth video in terms of Roz Williams and the goth scene. I figure I haven't anything to lose. I've made it in the past with my initial channel, which had over 1,000 subscribers, and then they decided to defunk it because it was incriminating, as I've said before. I was exposing the music industry, pedophile rings that are in with that, because it has to do with MK Ultra projects and the local police department tie in with that. It's all in terms of my being child sex trafficked. Now, before I get into this, there was something I forgot to mention in my last video where I was exposing a YouTuber. My son refers to them as goth influencers is probably the best way to describe them because they're extremely compromised. So that one woman, Angela Benedict, the thing I forgot to specify was in terms of the handler. It's actually my handler of the music industry. And it's as I was saying before, he would alert her when I would be watching her because I knew there were things happening and I knew this person was in on it. So I forgot to mention his handle. He was obviously Jewish. I am surrounded by Mossad agents that literally are in with the music industry. I have all the evidence. But see, they're ripping my channel down. So I have my BitChute channel, which only has a fraction of my evidence. So anyway, this person goes by Goth God, right? So that was during the super chats where he was springing her tons and tons of money. Essentially, they're both participating in my being sex trafficked. And that is the absolute truth. Um, the only reason he would refer to himself that in the handle is because it was like I was saying before. This has to do with the eugenics project involving the Kalergi plan that ties in with Epstein, because that was actually what Epstein was all about. It was about laboratories that have to do with uh, genetics. And so it's the Genesis project that I tie into, and it has to do with the Basque genetics and royal bloodline, and the Jesus Christ Mary Magdalene thing ties in with that. And so, anyway, the whole Goth God reference is actually a reference to Robert Smith because he's also in this project, and as I assume, also was Roger Allen Painter Roz Williams. And so, I wanted to go more in depth in terms of his murder, and I'm going to try not to get upset. Trust me when I tell you, everything that I say is truth and how I know it. And I'm not an actress or an actor, though at this point in my life, I really don't know if I'm going to be taken out. I mean, I feel like I've been left here on purpose. It's as I've said, I'll leave links to I'm under heavy drone surveillance. It looks like some of them may have disappeared in terms of the stationary ones. I have mobile ones as well. It ties in with Plantier, and so when you see my blockchain link, I'm Larissa Blockchain. It all ties in. So I figure it's like I'm just gonna be balls to the wall about it because I have nothing to lose at this point, and it is true. Everything that I say is true. Um, Now in terms of Roger, it's a lot like a lot of these others. I wouldn't doubt they're doing this to Robert or have done this to him as well, because this is what they do to these men because they're very young. They're conditioned into this for a very like birth. So they were literally, we're the pigs or whatever. He's pig boy. So they were taking him for a ride. So, they gave him the band Christian Death. It's like I said, this is about the eugenics project, and that's what he's singing about. And so when you see, I'll leave the link again, like I did before, Angel's Cruciform, and he's singing about rubella. That's German measles because it's Germanic European disease, right? We're considered a disease is because we're linked into the eugenics project. And the weirdest thing about this is because we are in this Kalergi type plan and how they've altered all of our genetics this way through hive mind technology. I just the cover of the album, if you notice, it's men and they're nude. And I don't know what painting or whatever, I forget you refer to those, or it's like a sketching. They're nude, kind of ass up type thing, not to be graphic or sick about it, because I'm appalled. I'm trying to figure out. what this is about. And you'll notice there's a woman and it's Grecian looking and she's got her back turned and she's standing above them. It's all hive mind tech. It's all in reference to Queen of the Hive Mind and then her men beneath her. And then she has a main drone. It is the hive. My father was the actual beekeeper of the hive. Um, so in terms of Roger Allen Painter, I guess I could start more about how I came into this in high school. Like I said, I'm not gonna get too in depth about it because it really isn't a card that I'm toting across because it's like this, I'm a Project Monarch, so my memories, what they refer to in the NWO as the manufactured memories, it's just that. It's everything that you thought about your life is not true. So, Roger, there, all truths are untrue. My son actually quoted it on his last video. It's exactly that. And so anyway, when I was a kid, it's like I've said in past videos, I think it might have been my initial channel. I'm not sure. I've had like four or five of them at this point. So I uh got into this scene. It was all designed, because it's all about frequency. And so I was like the Depeche Mode nerd. It started out there. It's called the fast fashion for a reason. So, I went from there and I sometimes now still listen to him a little bit, but I know what it's all about. So all songs, there's no such thing as underground music. It's all manufactured. And so on the West Coast where I'm from, Southern California, now I'm over in Houston, Texas, but it you had Cleopatra Records, and so it was more occult based, but really it's all occult. It really is. And it's Cleopatra. It's in reference to well, Cleopatra was Greek, right? Well, my name's Larissa, it's Greek. There's no accidents when we're talking about the Matrix. So pardon me, my dog's drinking water, how it works. So I like I said, I was into Depeche Mode probably like eighth grade, okay, like the end of junior high. And then time progressed. It was all timed out on a clock, just as per design. We're so that it's the debt clock, the reserve. I'm the quantum reserve node, and so I'm being held a hostage in the blockchain as such, as a sex slave. Essentially, it's a chastity belt that I have to bear. So, I I clocked everything. Like I said, it's the debt clock, and we're on a clock. So there's no accidents in life, right? So not only do you have the Masons manufacturing your life in this system, you're also like some of us are more heavily programmed, and there's a series of bells. And what was interesting is after I mentioned that again a couple nights ago, just yesterday, uh, the White House had posted the ding on a phone and the flag real quick. And that was letting them know, like, we're in the next step of the process, for which I already knew, it's a flowers of doom all bloom, right? It's a process. Right now we're aligning with Easter, right? So it's all aligned on purpose. And so like I said, my father was in all systems, and it just coincidentally his birthday lands on Easter Sunday this year. It's April 5th. And so Roger, he was suicided on April 1st, and there was the Hangman's was a fool card next to him. It was on purpose. They were taking him for a ride the whole time. They planned on murdering him the whole time. Um, I'm convinced of it, and I'm gonna say why. I didn't say too much about it because it's just this level of exposure that I do because it's so bottomless. Um, so I was engineered, as I said, and I was conditioned into this scene. And so I started listening to The Cure, and it really was Robert's voice. It was very much like that. And it was like a very obsessive type thing where I would listen to them. And that was like my favorite band. It was first like Depeche Mode, and then it progressed into that, and then Depeche Mode. No, no offense to them, because I still love them. I listen to them all the time. It was just that my mind is programmed for that band. And so they also conditioned and groomed me so there was these twins, and it's a reference for twinning because it's twinning, it's in eugenics and genetic programs. And so they had these two girls that were twins, right? And so all of a sudden they would start wearing the Cure t-shirt and stuff like that, trying to condition and groom me towards this. I was already listening to them at this point, but they just wanted to make sure to get this in my mind. It's like I said, this goth scene is not what you think. It is the music industry. There is no underground music. The underground scene is still mainstream. It is an Israel thing. It's in terms of this program. I'm just trying to figure out, I don't know, money talks. I'm trying to figure out why these young boys agreed to this. Like I said, it's money. I don't know because it's like I felt like I feel like they threw themselves under the bus in terms of themselves, their sexuality, and everything. They exploited themselves and everyone else. It just seems really strange because they're hitting notes on purpose that they're here, and then it's about the C note in particular, and so I'm just having a really hard time with it. I really am. Every day it's like worse for me. And so anyway, in terms of Roger, they did the same thing with me. Um, and I had crushes on both of them. It was like that. And there might be some other explanation behind that. And I'm not going to talk about that because I don't know. Um, I just have assumptions. So we'll just leave it at that. Uh, so they were my number ones, or I guess ones you could say. But Robert was always it was still like it was always that. Like I would have Robert on my walls in my room. I mean, I'm not. It's like a big humiliation ritual. I don't really care because it's all designed. It's like whatever. So I had all the English dudes on my wall. Okay, like I loved all of them. It was always like that, and of course David Bowie was like a big one. It's all because I'm in with them. And so, like it started with Bowie, and with in terms of my father, he was kind of like he gave me the man who sold the world. It's actually on tape, probably the one first tape that was made at that point. It's like, I don't really, and I took it and I loved it, and it's like that's like one of the albums most people don't like. I still liked it. It was very theatrical, right? So, I was hooked. That's just how it is. And so, and in terms of Roger, I it was a similar type thing. And at first, what was really weird about it, because just prior to that, I think I was listening to Joy Division. And it was like a series of like, I always loved Robert right from the beginning. It was always like that. But these others, it was kind of like I had to keep listening. It was like that. So I would listen to Joy Division. I actually checked that out of the library of all the weird things, and it was actually the cover of the tape, the cassette, that drew me into it. And then with Roger, it was the same type of thing, a conditioning thing where I'd see his face. I was already listening to him and stuff. I was real heavy into both sides of the spectrum. I guess you could say the English, but the English side was always my most favorite in terms of general whole. And then I liked Death Rock, which was more, of course, the occult. And but it was Roger. I mean, he hated that name, but whatever. All right, so it was Roz. Okay, so I it was always like that with me. Like I his voice grew on me as time went on. It was just like that. And I have some ideas, but excuse me, I'm thirsty. I don't get any ideas. It's just fucking Dr. Pepper. Um, so anyway, moving forward, I was always the alternative girl. Like I said, I never identified with labels. Every friend that I ever had and everything else, I was always approached. It was certain things because it's MK Ultra programming. So you'll be handed certain items. You'll be informed of certain things. And because my memory, my on running memory, it really is like, it is this. It's a CPU because I have a BCI brain chip interface. This is what this amounts to in terms of the eugenics project. And so my memory is emotions attached to my memories. And so for me, I was always extremely sad. My father would make jokes about I was always sad and crying when I was a kid. It was like that. It's the weirdest thing. There was always like this on running theme song that would run in the background of my head, like the saddest, like harp song or something when it was like that because people say the most fucked up things to me. And I now realize it's because of how I'm in the system. And then people were sent in to come after me. I had all kinds of things. A black girl came to attack me. I had racist chola gangs. They were sent in because the teachers, it's like, I messed up and said Angie because of the Angela thing. It's Allie Carter. Um, she had mentioned the Riverside school system participating, and yes, I am also a victim. I was in a sub area of Riverside. I think she was Moreno Valley, so it's kind of like I was closer to LA. Not that that makes a difference. It's just that I was probably over 20 miles probably from where she was. She's on the ass other end of Riverside County, we'll say in terms of the actual town, because Riverside's huge. It goes into the desert. So, the IE. So, anyway, it was like that. The teachers played a huge role in it. All my teachers, they would give me things. They were all Jew and Masons. So I was born on May 13th. So it ties in with Baal worship, and then of course you got the Mary Magdalene date, 13, and then you go, 31, right? You know. So, I was, I was born, I think, on a full moon, but it was on a Thursday, and it was 1976, the bicentennial baby. There's no accidents in how I came along. I know that, and they plotted it out. Like I said, my middle name is Alice, and I was named after my great grandmother Alice, and it was all like premeditated. They knew there was going to be an Alice that was going to come down the bloodline, and they were going to put her make the Hadron Collider, and it ties in with neuro linguistical programming because that's how my brain is wired. My left brain is locked up on purpose, so all I have to work with is my right brain. It has emotion and art, sound, things like that attached to it. Now, I know this is kind of long winded, but it's like there's no short way to talk about this. Now, in terms of Roger, so I went to, as I said before, I went to a show because that was what they're referred to as, and I didn't say what it was, and I should have. It's just that I get sideswiped. So I went to an Eva Ortiz show, and that was back when she's doing the Demons Fall for an Angel's Kiss. And so this is my monarch programming. She had her hair white on purpose. It was like all this. This is the Lilith, my project, my Monarch project. It's in reverse. They knew this little girl was coming in, and so they had to be this kind of Marilyn Monroe, Lilith type cross. Can't really see my mole from here. It's this. Apologize for my lighting. I tried the best I could. It's fucked up. Um, but so they knew that I was going to be this person on some level, and so I went to a show at the time. It was with my ex-husband, then boyfriend, and I was pregnant with our son. I think it might have been more like 7 months. So it was somewhere between January and December. So it's like between 94 and 95, the beginning of 95, because my son was born in March. And so I was there, we were there to see Eva O. And I was always grounded. I always wanted to go to see Christian Death since I was really young in high school, and I couldn't go anywhere. So I got pregnant with my son when I was grounded. That was my on-running joke. I don't think my son likes it too, but I mean, it's the truth. Um, so it's not like I was saying it as a bad thing. I just joke about it. I guess I have my father's sense of humor in that respect. So my father would joke and say I was dyslexic. So I was pregnant with my son and at the show, and I was real loud, and I was wearing my I kind of have my little set of uniforms because back in the day when you were a goth kid, an alternative kid, you saved up your lunch money and shit to buy clothes. It was like that. And thrifting, that was all part of it. Like thrift store shopping, like it was like my big thing. And it, to be honest, side note, shopping back then was a lot more fun than it is now because you kind of like it was the thrill of the hunt. You'd go into like Macy's or something and you'd find a lace top at the most random thing, and that was like a score. Now you can buy all that stuff so easily, but um anyway, that's just doesn't matter. But so when I went to this show, Roger had come. I say it like this because it was like this because he was very much like that. He was very, very like he knew he was the shit, okay? And you know what's funny? I'm 5'3", and I'm not saying this to make fun of him, not at all. He's probably my height, maybe an inch taller, if that. I mean, it was like that. So he's very beautiful in the way that he was, and like he came sauntering in to stand in front of me, directly in front of me. It was on purpose. And so when you're an MK Ultra in a program, everything is staged out, like I said. I had a Jewish teacher give me a series of bells, and it was on a pink ribbon because it's the pink. It's all about love and all this dumb shit. And oxytocin, right? So the bells, there was all these little antique bells. There's 5 bells on it, little cowbell things. Cowbells. So she gave me those, right? Um I had another teacher give me a corn on the cob necklace. That was my first grade teacher. Letting me know that it's the harvest and I'm being, farmed. And they're still doing this stuff to me, this type of thing. So I this has always been an ongoing thing. All my friends, excuse me, all my friends were set in, manufactured all the way up into my adult life, just like my ex-husband. My ex-husband though was conditioned also. Like I said, there was a bunch of goth boys that were sent into my high school. They were also conditioned. None of them were nice. None of them were. They were all like hypersexualized and strange. It was like that. And prior to that, I had boys sent in, and it's like I've said in my previous channel, it was more than playing doctor. And I know it was the Masons and it was on purpose, and it was in terms of hypersexualizing me because they had me in a Lilith project, and so they consider it sex magic. Basically, it rides on frequency in terms of sound. And so I'm being sexually abused all the time, and I'm being sexually harassed all the time. It is like the worst form of sex trafficking. Like, I mean, it's not on the magnitude of these women, these girls that have literally been through it and the Epstein went like that. I'm not at all trying to compare myself to that. That's awful. I actually have sympathy for them. But mine is a little different, and it's very, very because they're pushing these sounds on me and I sense them and it's disgusting. And then on top of that, they're sending men in to follow me to my home at night. I have black men sending after me all the fucking time too, chasing me around. Not recently, but now that I'm saying it, they're gonna do it again. This is the way that it's been for me, and it's because I'm a white sex slave. That's what Epstein's about, is sex slavery. And so with the Goyim girls, it's in the Talmud that we're all whores. We're all sex slaves to them. Um, So anyway, we're moving on from Roger, or moving on with Roger as I ramble. This was their way of letting me know when he stood in front of me. It was him letting me know because it's like, because you roll back in the past and it was designed to do that. So he was instructed to do this to me because they knew I was going to roll back to the past with him. And we were already all neural connected, and that's what this is about because we're all hooked in with sound in our genetics. We're all genetically, because we're all like, some of us are more closely related than others. And so naturally, I would have been attracted to him. And then, of course, there's other things that come into play with that. And then, of course, there's Robert. But Robert was always, like I said, it was that. It's always been that way. And if you look, yeah, we look similar. Understatement. It's my dad's side. So, with Roger, as time went on, this was their way of letting me know they were going to murder him in, was it 97? So it just so happened the day after he was suicided, We go into a store. It was a very well-known store from Southern California, in terms of, or California in general, in terms of the goth scene, because this was, back then, this is how you would shop. And so they would get in imports that would be from England and stuff, things from the UK. And so this was like the hot shit, because, clothes weren't cheap. And, back then, these clothes, like, it's like I said, you had to save up. And it was always, always, always about the shoes. Like, your shoes were your staple, and they built up from there. And so, I went into this store, and so the day after, which is just miraculous, they said, "Oh, Roz Williams, committed suicide. He was murdered, or not murdered, but he committed suicide." And I thought, that's the weirdest thing. Okay. And what was weird is that, just prior to that, those few years there, he was, people were talking trash and smack about him. It was all deliberate. He was being set up. Um, there's a guy named Tony that was my ex's friend there, and he just miraculously made it back into my ex's life again as my marriage blew up. I figure he's in with a masonry. He supposedly, like I'd said this before, he had a zine back, or zine. I always say zine. So, that's short for magazine, right? This was back in the day, you had these things, you had flyers and this, everything was on paper. And so he did an interview for the college or something like that. And he came back and he made mention, he said, yeah, it's like Roz had like garbage stapled to his jacket and he was really high. And I'm like, I didn't think too much of it. I mean, I thought it was odd, but now, looking back on it, like yeah. So, as this progressed, um, years later, my ex made it a point to take us to the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. His urn is on the second floor. I don't know why he decided to just all of a sudden, like I said, my ex was in on my project, so I don't know what the motive behind this was. He was like that. He led like two or three lives. So, I mean, I'm not, but it's weird. So we went there, and then we directly, right after that, it's like, how does he know these things? So then we went, because it's not too far away, we went to the Faces of Death, and he had like a shrine in there. And I think he may have had, it's been a while, his ashes in there as well, but they made it a point. They were literally exploiting him. They wanted people to know he was murdered. Mm. So it's like I said, the hangman is a fool card. It ties in like my father. That's what they do to people when they murder them. They stick tarot cards. They're all into the tarot. And so this is where things are going to get a little funny, a little sketchy, even more. So you have Eva Ortiz. She gang stalked me. If you don't know what that is, well, basically she stalked me because she knew who I was. So was married at some point, married to Roger. Now Roger's sexuality, they're all like that. I mean, it just is. It's just like that, and I don't have a problem with that. It's just whatever, right? But he married her. This is how the story went. She used to have, okay, so when the internet was new, she had, because it's back in her Demons Fall for an Angel's Kiss type, or whatever, her album. So it had blue clouds on it. And so back then you had to like, you didn't have all these like links and, things it was very like JavaScript, or if that back then, okay? So you'd have to like scroll, 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 scroll as you're reading it. So she had this long, long story where she admitted herself, I think at that point, because there was already talk about this. Like I said, I'm going to be 50 this year, so it's like you just know about these things. And so, she went up north chasing after, and she had it there, chasing after Rich Ramirez. Now, if you know anything about MK Ultra, these psychopaths are manufactured by the CIA, just as they are. It all ties in. It's all MK Ultra. And so, Yeah, there's a lot more to this story, and this is going to come out. It's kind of like Charles Manson. He was the fall boy. They let, like, yeah. I was over there. I used to be a makeup artist. I was over there near Spawn Ranch some years ago. So yeah, it's all set up. And that's what, I mean, if you listen to Manson, he's not an idiot. He was telling you the truth. It's like, it's the same thing across the board. Like Eileen Wuornos, that's another one. Eileen Wuornos is the saddest one of them all. She should have never died. Um, but anyway, so she went chasing up Rich Ramirez. And so the story goes like this, right? She had it there. And, so Roger was concerned. So he went and made it a point and to go up there and find her and married her to bring her back down to Southern California because he was up in Frisco supposedly. And so the story goes is that he married her. They weren't married very long, and they got divorced. And it's all real weird. And so I had read the Night Stalker book. I don't remember who wrote it. And there at the end, when it got to the court cases, it mentioned a mysterious woman that was sitting in like the audience of the courtroom, and they wanted her for questioning. And I knew right away. I think they even said she had white hair or light hair or no, maybe. It was just I forgot what tipped me off to make me realize it was her. It's been a hot minute, but it's been probably 30 years since I read that book. So there was that, right? So fast forward about 10, 15 years ago, somewhere between there. I was going to all kinds of clubs, right? So I was a big clubber up until a few years ago when I realized that these people were being sent in. So the music industry is extremely fake and phony. A lot of their fan base is bought and paid for, just like these shills playing into the Goth scene, pushing the narrative, the hot shit subculture, which isn't a subculture, like I said. Fast people are a subculture and part of the Genesis Project. So you are very welcome to go look that up for yourself. Um, so this is where things got weird. I went to a club that was local in Riverside. So at this point, just prior to that, Eva O was running this weird little nightclub. She did it for a few nights. It was actually pretty cool, whatever. But I realized it's all in terms of me because this is what this is about. So she made it a point to come to this club. At this point, she was married to a man named Edwin Borsheim. Now, Edward Borsheim was a white man, and his father, I believe, was also a musician, and he was from, like, I want to say Denmark or something. So he's goy, totally white. Of course, this shit's hitting the fan. So she made it a point to go to this club out of nowhere, and my ex, it was the weirdest thing. Again, it was like, here they are. And so all of a sudden, my ex is like, I'm gonna go hang out with them. And I'm like, why? Okay. Like, I don't care about, like, it's like, yep, there she is. I already knew. Like, if you've known how she's progressed as a person, she's not the type of person you just go up to. She's like, I'll cut you, bitch. Okay. She's shorter than me. Okay, I'm 5'3". She's like 5 foot, but I'm not kidding you, man. She's like an evil picture of gatolita. Okay, like she got you. It's like that, She's got the occult up in that shit. So I'm just like, hey, no, I don't want any shit with her, whatever. But miraculously, her brother-in-law, Edwin's it's supposedly they didn't really look alike. So his, I think, younger brother just happened to look like Zim Zum from Marilyn Manson, which I can touch on that as well because it all ties in. Um, he comes up to me. He's got the hair, and he's like trying to chat me up and offer me a drink. Granted, I have a husband, but he's like chatting up Eva and her dude. Okay, but I'm like, no, that's all right. I'm good. This is back when I was like the one drink wonder. I'd have my drink, we're good because I have to drive home, right? So, when this went down, after that, the club kind of, commenced close, was getting a closing because the local club, it's not even goth, it was like that weird bullshit noise shit. I don't care, EBM, or I don't like that garbage. I just go to go. It was just an excuse to get dressed up because it really was like that. All I like to do is dance, which became more rare. It is deliberate. They would never play things I liked. It was on the wrong frequency. And they would deliberately say they're going to play, and they never would play whatever. And so this guy, he acted like he was sore that I turned him away. So all of a sudden, I'm walking with my fake friend, again, manufactured. This girl happens to be a Jew Catholic. And the Hodgkin twins actually exposed her some years later. I mean, I'm not even making this up. My life is so manufactured. She's a Mossad agent with Trump derangement syndrome. She had a whole video on the Hodge twins. Like, it was so over the top and ridiculous that they even exposed. She lives in like Orange County area of Southern California. It's so insane. So she I was walking to her. She was like what I called my best friend at the time. So I was walking with her to my car, waiting for my ex-husband. At the time we're still married. I'm like, great, I guess, okay. So they're like talking about him going over to Spawn Ranch, okay? Because like Edwin Borsheim had a band called Kettle Cadaver, okay? And so not my thing, all right? It's like this weird, I forget what you call that kind of metal-y type stuff, right? And it was the weirdest thing because just prior to this, at that nightclub thing, she was running. He would gush over her. Like he was like fangirling over her. Like he just like, it was like that. It was really strange. And like she played handler to him. And so it's very obvious now when you look back on it. So she all of a sudden I'm walking back to my car. I hear this click, 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 click. She's got her boots on. She's wearing a literal flipping cloak, a black cloak, okay, with a hood. And, she's Cholita. So she's like running after me. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, I'm going to die. Eva O is running after me. What is this? At that time, I was just this cute little young, still young. I was in my early 30s, maybe. I was like, all, I think I had little pigtails and shit like that. So stupid. And like, she's running up to me. And I'm like, oh dear God, what is this? So she comes up, and all of a sudden she's like, hey, honey. So she gives me a hug, and she doesn't have a bra on. This is an intimidation tactic. This is what I'm getting at, okay? It really is, because it's to roll back on. So I know that they're all involved in this. I have no doubt in my mind. So when you're my age, you know the story. And so there's this big fake riff of a back and forth about who gets Christian death? Is it going to be Valor Kind or is it going to be Rozz Williams? Well, it was more like a big joke where they planned on murdering Rozz. And they're all involved. I have no doubt. So this, she came up to me and it was the weirdest thing because I thought they were trying to convince my ex-husband to go back to Cadaver Ranch over in Beaumont where they lived at the time. And so I'm sitting here like, wow, okay. So I think at that point I got in my car and I sat there with this friend. Her name was Jen, the Jew. Jen, the Jew. Of course she is. So I'm sitting in there and I'm telling her in the car, I'm like, oh dear God, my ex is going to Spawn Ranch and it's over, I guess. Okay, well, what do I do, right? We really were having a conversation like this. So, he finally this commenced. He gave my ex-husband like a DVD, I think, of his videos that he make. I think it was over at his place. He seemed like an all right guy. I mean, at the end of the day, but their gangsta like it is literally set up this way. And then Interesting enough, he was suicided not too long later. Edward Borsheim. Goy boy. Hmm. Yeah, this is what they're doing. Absolutely what they're doing. So prior to that, okay, so you have, it's a project. It's called the God Module Project, and they have me in this project. You have five, six, seven. So of course, human, Jesus, and then you have Satan. So they had Roger playing the Satan in the game. It was deliberately staged out this way. Like I said, this is going to come to a head. I may not live through this, but anyone that is in this music industry, and if you're like happen to be this goth, you're gonna know that this girl right here is the purpose behind this. And it's about the enslavement of my family and a bloodline. They have me in particular, my family, my father, they had enslaved us to the blockchain, and this was what this was about. And no one was going to tell us about it. I had to find my blockchain and expose tons and tons of aerial shit where I'm being threatened. My life is being threatened. So they murdered my father. So, with this God Module project, because you have the band called that too. Well, it's all on purpose. Like I said, all music interconnects. Okay, and so this is what Roger's telling you. He's telling you the story because it rolls back in reverse. Because it's a program, and then Robert's side it plays in as well. I guess you're supposed to look at it as less bad. I don't know. For me, it's all bad. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with it. Do I hate him or Roger? No, I don't. I can't. We're all linked into this together. So, and nobody's, I guess I hate them because they've allowed me to sit here like this. Every one of them, including Trump. It's like, wow, nobody will approach me about any of this. And it's obvious that I have a lot of shit going on. Things are happening to me. So, with this God module project, you have Satan. And then you have Robert that plays the God, the Jesus in the game. And then I'm the Mary. They call me the Mary. They also refer to him as Archangel Michael. And so with me, it's like the all the Marys in the game, Mary Magdalene and Mary Holy Mother, because it's the Sinner Saint program. We're all on it, all three of us. And so they moved. This is my thoughts behind this. Well, I know it's this. So because Roger didn't want to play along with this game, or they just didn't want him to do it, they went ahead and started moving. I think they always planned it this way. And see, and this is the reckoning that, and I know he's probably known this for a while. I don't know. This is the reckoning that Brian Warner has to, because he's hooked in there with us too. And so it's like that. So it's like, do I hate him? No, I don't hate him. But see, Ginger Fish, they were all part of this. I was stalked and all kinds of shit by all these motherfuckers. All. So it was all part of the program and how this was set up. It was like just a quinky dink, and my ex-husband would know where all of them were going to be, and it was just very strange like that. And so with this God module project, it's like because it's all on frequency, and so it's like a game where you're supposed to find God's voice, okay? And it's supposed to like bring you up from, because it's 5 4 5, right? Fours are the boys. And so the girls, this little girl, she fell. Okay. So the story goes like this, I guess. So my father was neural connected in there with us too. And so my father, I fell from grace from 5 to 4 with these dudes. I went down the Lilith Project. No, I'm not like that. It's more to do with frequency. So, you know, I just did my life backward. I got pregnant. That was part of the plan to have a son and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's like that. So they harvested my ovary at some point in my life. I'm thinking it's when I had a hysterectomy, but it could have been when I had a C-section with my son. And so they timed it out in quantum with the person I'm connected to directly because we're neurally twinned, whatever. And that's the voice I'm always searching for subversively through music, guitars, and things. And the bass guitar is my number one. I'm always like, my ears always trying to find him in some way because it's a game. So when you watch The Matrix, Neo and Trinity, if you notice they look alike, it's the twin towers. You notice Neo's head turns when the blonde, the Marilyn Monroe, because she's in the red dress. It's all part of a project. And you see these girls, the blonde hair, the women shaking their ass on stage. Like I said, it's all part of the project. It's all part of the God Module project. And so it's a level of, and you're like, well, why would this be going on? It's because it's the debt clock and the reserve system, and we're all tied into it. We're all in the blockchain with it. We're like literally slaves. And so some of us, our genetics have been the goyim of bloodlines or bloodline or whatever. We've all been tied together. So we all like to hear each other, I guess. But some of us like to hear others more than others. You got me. It really is that sick and subversive. So, I don't know what else to add to that because this is really long. Um, I just wanted to add this. So, um, there was other things too. So when this all went down, because Valor was married, I don't think he is anymore, to Gatan Damon. That was another one. Like my ex just in later years, 7, 8 years ago, just out in the middle of the desert. She's going to be there and then the same thing with this club that's local to me, another club that's local to me. Nobody would show up. She just happened to be there. It was like that. And so I had, what's his face from Christian Death? He was there trying to chat me up. I was pretty drunk that night. I'm not going to lie. So was he, I think. And so I just kind of like crossed my eyes and like, it was all like this because they wanted me to know that Roger was murdered. It's that. And you're going to hear this here from me first. It's like I said, I have nothing to lose. They want me to know this. And so they fly airplanes. Recently, they flew an airplane over my house. It said Eva Air because they know because I get upset and I cry about this. Um, I have all kinds. I used to post it all the time, but now I just keep it on Twitter because it's easy. So I have like CIA, NASA, because NASA's tied into what this is because it's NASA project, space programs. They fly over my house. Everyone flies over my house. And like I said, so my father was in the military. And if you notice, these men have links to the military. These boys, these once boys, now men, it's like that. Their own family, they're military brats, right? Same with me. So, or, and they get into it and whatever. Well, me, I was kind of like, so I'm like this generational military brat. So, like, I was raised by a veteran. My grandfather was a veteran. Great grandfather was a veteran, so on and so forth. And then it's kings and queens and shit like this. So it literally is like that. These are all Christians that had no problem standing up for the cross. And that's what this boils down to. Um, so I don't know if I'm missing anything else. I'm sure I probably am. Any dispute with this, it's like I said before, it's only because it's the music industry and they're going to try to dispute this. You're welcome to Google Larissa Alice Lay and you will see my blockchain. It'll say Larissa blockchain. You look up Larissa Alice with the word, I think it might be blockchain. You're going to see some, it's like, it just totally goes a little description there. Like yeah, it's all right there. You're welcome to search in YouTube for Alice Dark 5, Larissa Alice, any of that. And you're going to see the music industry and they're speaking in code, trying to defame my character and try to disprove me. These are the pedophile links that are linked in with Epstein. That's who they are. They all are in the music industry and they are Mossad and they are Jew. That means they are Jew. Yes, they are. And you're welcome to do that. I think Tulsi Gabbard's been talking about this like in a courtroom, but they're very quiet about it because they don't want this to get out. Like I said, this is NASA and shit, and it ties in with CERN. And then so many things. And so it's like because my father headed this up, and so when they defunk this, the entire fucking economy is going to go down. Interplanetary. It's that I'm the reserve node, and so everyone else is like subjugated. Is that a word? They're all in there with me. They're in there. We're all in there. Like we're all money. Like I just happen to be the big one because I've got the biggest purse. I mean, with like it's all like fiat currency, but So I know today, which was very interesting, Trump was acknowledging the Greek Orthodoxy, something about Greece, something or other today, and I found that interesting, like I said, because that's something, I don't know, something with our program and how we're tied in there. I don't know. My name is Greek. I don't know. I think Cleopatra is in our background, but see, these assholes, um, they're trying to claim it all their own, you know? And then they're trying to turn you to make, they're trying to deflect you from things and tell you everything is bad. It's upside down world, so this confuse you to like not see the Jew behind the curtain. Because what Wizard of Oz is about? That clock. It is about that. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go. This is really fucking long, but it's like I said, whenever I talk, there's just no way of summing it up as an Inigo Mendes way to say. Okay, peace out.